started, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience and your leadership, and thank you to Senator Sessions for the hard work that I know he's put in as ranking member. It strikes me that we've had a lot of agreement across the table this afternoon. A lot of my Democratic colleagues have said things that I absolutely agree with. For example, Mr. Sanders of Vermont said unemployment is really a lot higher than the government is telling us. It's double digit and it's way too high. Minority unemployment is even higher than that. He decries that, and so do I. I think this budget is about giving us a government that's able to bring that unemployment rate down and make life better for people who want a job. I agree with Senator Warner when he very accurately said that Medicare has been a great program, but the numbers do not add up long-term in the future, and so we're going to have to do something about that. I agree with Senator Kane when he says savings can be made under the sequester in a smarter way by allowing targeting. As I remember, last week I voted for a proposal that would have done just that. I do have to disagree, though, with some of the revisionist history that keeps getting repeated in this building. It's been said that President Clinton came to Washington, D.C. with a balanced approach. Well, he may have had a balanced approach, but it didn't include a balanced budget. President Clinton never proposed a balanced budget until after the 1994 election, when Republicans won majorities in the House and the Senate. Republicans got President Clinton to sign reconciliation. Republicans got President Clinton to sign welfare reform. Then we moved in 2 or 3 or 4 years after that to a balanced budget. So it was done on a bipartisan basis. But before that, President Clinton's balanced approach never amounted to a balanced budget. Now, as far as the Bush tax rates go, you would think from hearing some of our colleagues on the other side of the table, they were the worst thing in the world for the economy and for the deficit. Listen, had they been that harmful, President Obama would not have been delighted at the end of this past year to sign into permanent law 99% of the Bush tax rates, because that's what he did. And I checked the votes of the people, of the Democratic members of this budget committee that had a vote last December. Every one of them voted in favor of making permanent 99% of the Bush tax rates. So before we get carried away blaming them, let's remember that President Obama was perfectly willing and even delighted to sign 99% of those. I have to disagree with one thing my friend from Vermont said about the meltdown of 2008. It was, according to him, some Republican deregulation of Wall Street. I remember hearings where Democratic leaders in this Congress said everything was fine with Fannie Mae. Everything was fine with Freddie Mac. Didn't have a thing to worry about. Everything was fine with the rating agencies. Senator King mentioned the rating agencies. That as it turns out, they were perpetrating a fraud on the American people. So there's plenty of blame to go around. With the meltdown of 2008 and 2009. Which brings me to today's Politico. Now, see on the front page of today's Politico, Obama tells the Hill it should take the lead in the deficit. The president said yesterday, and it's in today's mainstream media, the president wants us to take the lead in reducing the deficit. Mr. President, we need your leadership. We have needed your leadership. And I noticed you turn over to page 18, and it says the president's budget will be 2 months late. The statutory time for the president to submit a budget was 2 months before he's actually going to give it to us. We've heard Simpson Bowles mentioned. We've heard Domenici Rivlin. We've heard Gang of Six. Simpson Bowles reported. Members of this committee were on Simpson Bowles. I don't think the president even sent him a thank you letter. We needed the president's leadership after Simpson Bowles. I'm sure Senator Warner would have loved a little help from the president after the Gang of Six reported. Two things about specific issues that have been mentioned. And I have to agree with Senator Wyden. Medicare is a guarantee, and we need to keep that guarantee, Madam Chair. The proposal that you will hear from Republicans and the proposal you will hear from Chairman Ryan is to keep the guarantee, to let every senior citizen opt to stay in traditional Medicare, but also to give them an opportunity to go into a premium support system and allow the competition between those two plans to hold down Medicare cost. And finally, we haven't received the final print of this budget, but I can almost guarantee that it will grow government by about 5% over the next decade. We contend that if you cut that 5% growth per year that will be in the Democratic budget when we see it, we cut that only to 3.4% growth. In other words, if we grow government expenditures by 3.4% per year for the next decade, then we can balance this budget and still have 3.4% growth. I hope we'll do that. Look forward to working with the chair and my Democratic colleagues across the aisle, and perhaps we can get that done. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.